Your username has been made into a multi-billion-dollar movie. What's it about? It's a movie about your mom licking my balls. I've seen this one already. Scandinavian clown cowboy hybrids. Hashtag pirate dogs. The greatest Sith Lord in all of Star Wars versus the greatest Jedi of all time, with a cameo from another Sith Lord because we need more action figures to sell. A period piece about a modest nobleman who is called upon to use his supernatural virility to restore the dwindling population of his small farming community. Bananas being liberated. I would pay to see that. A guy who locked his keys in his car. Edit scratch that. It's about a guy in a spelling bee. Jackass but PG. The Jets starting quarterback gets injured in the third game of the season. I'm on the sideline partially paying attention when they call my number. Coach shouts bunch of instructions and sends me out to the field. I'm instantly sacked 3 times and we lose the game. We lose the rest of the season, but I managed to convince everyone it's because the last general manager did not have a decent offensive line or wide receivers. Quarterback heals in time for training camp and I'm back to the backup, which is what I enjoy. There's no better job in sports than backup quarterback. Cheech and Chong's up in smoke, but you know, with squirrels. Crippling depression. Brought to you by Understatement Studios. Supermarket riots over the last supplies of jam during the COVID-19 pandemic after Trump claims that he's interested in what medical doctors can do with jam to cure it. I fuck Aunt Jemima, complete with syrup. Monsieur. May I ask why? No. You have to see it. It's hard to put into words. I smell an Oscar. Like American Sniper, but he shoots while facing the other direction. People who are constantly tired trying to figure out what 11,037 means. About Bob the Builder but a communist. The Russian version of the same cartoon. Yup, you guessed it, reboot of the Aragon series franchise, which is actually good and does the books justice. A person named Lyra who, no matter what she does, is semi-decent at it. She draws a tree. It's decent. You guess. Makes a cure for a dangerous cancer. I mean, it isn't that bad. Not if I've got anything to do about it. Now picture this, it's like King Kong, but with a corgi. You had my attention, now you have my interest. Batman lol. Horror film, hunted by the axe-wielding Thumbjack. Starring Jack's Films. It's an horror movie where everyone in a city get choked and is found dead by a living snow-like creature hiding in the actual snow of Christmas time. Thank you for all your suggestions now to make billions. It'll get a lot of views and box office earnings. Baby Yoda. A movie about children not wanting to eat their vegetables. It's a psychological thriller about a seemingly perfect marriage, but then you find out it's not what it seems. It's about a man who wakes from a 20-year coma only to find all the online usernames have been claimed. A squadron of misguided angels attempt to destroy me because of mistaken identity. By sheer luck, a nearby demon who thinks the whole thing is hilarious helps me escape and tap into power I never realized I had, leading to an epic showdown where the fate of the universe hangs in the balance. At the end, you find that the real Satan was my pothead roommate who overslept that day. *edit. Fate, not date. Probably a comedy, like Dumb and Dumber. Would be a shitty movie. Guy lives in an isolated town, where the name Maddie doesn't exist, so he finally escaped the place and hears a man on the phone, talking to someone named Maddie. The guy from the town is like, WTF is a Maddie? IDK, a hawk with a tiny dagger whose brother was murdered. Nowhere near as good as the first one. It's the best porno of all time. Prequel to the Pirates of the Caribbean. A very young Jack Sparrow gets his first cinema exposure. A documentary about cats who think they're starving because they can see a clear spot at the bottom of their dish. Chewable jewelry. A German version of President Kanye. Bikini Bottom's top food critic. A really sad shrimp going through a rough patch in his early 20s. A romantic love story between two pastry chefs. A bunch of apes getting stoned. A fire, I suppose. Or 32 of them, monsieur. Something to do with jail. Sex idol with Alzheimer's. Aliens come and hijack an airplane. I kinda want to see that now, lol. Ice cream. A psychological thriller where a young teen is forced into an environment that pressures and tests the morals and innocence of young adults that are being put into the real-world brutality and stepping over others offers rewards, yet kindness and moral compass stop and prevent these things. Which ultimately refers to the name five-headed. Multiple dimensions of something so simple yet complicated as life. Basically Aquaman or Blastoise, but it's piss instead of water. A guy that sells Mercury automobiles. Snoopy in the Wild West. This friggin' guy shakes fist furiously. China takes over global internet and anonymity dies. Probably. Psychological thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat and involves a lot of running through cities with blurry backgrounds. Ends in some kind of twisted harmony between compliance and rebellion. Or Reddit documentary. Maybe. Actually, I'm not really sure what it would be about. It's about a gnome archaeologist who fights off a bunch of gnome Nazis looking for a tiny ark of the Covenant. A documentary about obesity in America. Or a porno about BBWs. You won't know until you watch. Basic white B**********. Or, a woman whose child was kidnapped spends the rest of her days trying to track down the man who killed her. Using the screen name Lexi_141414. She said that on a mission to lure as many pedophiles as she can and murder them, monsieur. Ozzy Osbourne is a boy before the drugs got hold of him. About a frozen heart. The heart is a rabbit. BDSM movie about plankton from SpongeBob. I'd watch that for like 2 minutes before deciding the world has gone mad and never picking it up again. We, a team of Batmen, decide to launch a correspondence school in our respective alternate universes. We teach by tape by day and fight crime by night. Theater llamas. Iguanas on shrooms that develop higher consciousness and eat a lot of chocolate. A man who becomes the best sandwich chef in the world before his inevitable mental breakdown and suicide at 40. A surgeon who never wants to operate on anyone. A planet full of a corrupt species of aliens, hell-bent on the logic that if you can't survive on your own, you don't deserve to survive. A filthy physician. 3 people inside someone's brain constantly arguing. The third personality is the main character who is pretty chill and mostly watches the other 2 argue while grabbing something to drink. The quest for the golden testicles. Defeating that rat Jotaro. Sauron being yelled at, Mr. Sauron, watch out. A fish blessed with the blood of a dragon. Traveling the waterways of Skyrim, monsieur. In this epic tale learn how he was captured and shouted his way out of the clutches of the Empire. Flopped up the 10,000 steps and learned to shout with no voice. Coming to a theater near you. Fish Aiken. A man who sustains a traumatic groin injury develops a blood kink while under the knife in the earth. He then irresponsibly digs his way through a world of goth vampire hookers and adult sex therapists, losing his life savings in the process of catering to his new obsession with bloody nutty action. A guy named Steve with a turd on his head. The life of a generic human. A boring movie about an asshole. Whatever it is, it's definitely a sequel. It's about astral projection into a forgotten friend who had a crush on you only to find out that she is meant to be the inspiration for the coolest, in my opinion at least, Marvel franchise ever, and on top of that, she decided that you were good enough to marry after all. Cut. That's a wrap, folks. Thinking of you always, Stan the Man. A subway romance. An Asian failure. A guy called Jack as a Pokemon character. Fucking Chuck. Just some left socks. Probably about something I can't explain. Florida man, obviously. Basically Joe Dirt too. Honestly, mine probably won't be too bad. Like Perry the Platypus, expect I'm a goose. about the Soviet Union leader named Juju. Just a raven flying around the world that always happens to be at important moments in history and giving his opinion on the matter. A kookaburra that doesn't laugh. A young woman trying to find herself in the world. A dude with a weird-looking hand living an average dad life. Bear Grylls surviving a year on a public college. It's about not letting on until I've written it and signed contracts for. I have no idea. A snake with a joint. And your profile pic is a duck, so we need to work that in too. How Kelly went after the D 101 times. A biracial couple in the 1920s that die when a cruise liner hits an iceberg. Me. A series of vignettes about the circumstances of people I met in a mental hospital. Wild Thing is more than one would be about a mother losing her mind because her son couldn't kick. Heroin, opioids, surreal incoherency. The third film in the Incredibles franchise. The family must band together and defeat their toughest foe yet. A methane maniac who can knock out entire cities with his gas. A show about a group of friends who live in a wonderful rent-controlled apartment above a coffee shop in which one of them works. A group of 62 chefs come into the possession of a suspiciously large amount of meat which they are supposed to make into sushi. One of the chefs does some digging and accidentally discovers the kaiju black market, which has been dealing the meat of the giant monsters to chefs around the world. A man named Lewis who needs to overcome several trials in order to become the bluest. Or, an abused teenager in foster care runs away to Las Vegas to try to find the Blue Man Group. All he remembers is his mother, who is a drug addict, saying that his father was in the Blue Man Group. A chef cast away on a shipwrecked vessel in May of 1997Z. A dog who wants to be a human but keeps messing up. My username is what he uses as his name as a human. A street gangster who is a better person than everyone else in the game. An unhinged motorcycle enthusiast. Evil duck overlord. Once James Bond goes to China for a secret mission but gets seduced by an evil panda and accidentally impregnates her. To avoid risking his dark tastes coming to the forefront, he abandons the kid. That kid grows up to learn the truth and conspires to take down 007. Memes about my now dead YouTube channel. Someone who isn't any more special than anyone else. They're just an immortal. That's all. Actually, that would be a pretty interesting premise. The only thing special about them is that they're not mortal. And because they're not human, they don't try to improve themselves at all. A candy cult. It's SpongeBob, but from his house's perspective. A Canadian lawyer that busts some politician for corruption. It's an intergalactic porno. A comedy about a video game that's whole deal is you are Theodore Roosevelt hunting bears in. That's it, that's the whole plot. It's most likely a film adaptation of the game, A Plague Tale: Innocence. A guy who lost his puppy and commits a mass human genocide till he finds it. He fails to, and inevitably commits suicide. The Mutiny on the Bounty. Guess they already made that movie, though. The last redhead on Earth, near the end of her days, spills a ghastly secret to her grandkids about why she's the last redhead on Earth. Nirvana. It's a prequel to the Joker when he was a roadie for Cypress Hill. I think it's a cartoon for kids about the robot uprising. It's basically all of the porch scenes from Gran Torino. Wenches who are jobless. Security guards at a theme park who go into the private sector and change their name to Blackwater after the park gets shut down. Creed! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! A fuck ton of trouble. It's everywhere. Mutant iguanas taking over the world. Your mom. It's a dramatization about my life and love for music, but it's edited to actually make me look like I gave a shit, and cutting the parts that make me look bad. I die at 27 from an aggressive cancer, having just gotten into med school to turn my life around a few years ago. Credit to Elephant Man, a dude named Carrie that is always attacking things I guess. Might make a good villain movie. Competing fast food executives' tale of greed and betrayal. A thriller about a psychopath that makes a living by manipulating people into asking her for help, when in reality she's the one stealing all the money. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.